Greetings YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about a role-playing game adventure called Blood Moon Risings from Small Niche Games. Full disclosure, I was given a free copy of this adventure for the purposes of reviewing. I just don't want you to think there's any kind of evil goings on in the background there. The adventure is designed for the Labyrinth Lord's set of rules, so it's an old-school retro clone of the Dungeons & Dragons game, designed for first to third level characters. They recommend anywhere between 8 to 10 levels of adventurers in the group, so you could have four second level characters would be quite efficient in this. And having read the adventure, I'm thinking you probably want to aim at either a large party of first levels or a medium-sized party of second or third level characters. Like 4 to 5 characters I think might be good. Because, it's got some challenges in there I think that might be a little bit beyond some first level characters. So, I'm presented with a slight problem. How to review an adventure without spoiling it for anyone who wants to play it in the future. So I'm going to try to work my way around this, kind of, around the edges, tell you as much as I can without ruining any of the surprises. So the adventure takes place in the village of Garrington. And Garrington would be an absolutely sleepy, blink and you'll miss it kind of a place that adventurers would just drive right by, except for 3 things. First, there is the tomb of St. Garin nearby. 2, there is the Abbey of St. Garin right there. And lastly, there is the Festival of St. Garin, which is held once a year. There's a reason they call this place Garrington. The Festival of St. Garin is a 5-day festival, which is celebrating the martial skills of local warriors and those who have traveled from some distance to have themselves blessed by the monks of the Abbey of St. Garin for the coming year's martial activities. Not an uncommon practice to have religious leaders, blessing troops and things like that. They bless ships. Fleets of ships still to this day. Heck, in New Hampshire, they have the blessing of the motorcycles in the springtime. So the characters would be entering this adventure more than likely because they want to participate in this particular festival. And the festival has things like feats of strength and dexterity, of archery, combat, things like that really kind of emphasize the martial skills. Riding is also included in there. And the adventure would take place over the entire 5-day festival. And again, I'm not trying to spoil it, so I'm going to try to present you with what does this adventure give you, the player, and you, the GM. Well, it presents you with Garrington itself. It's a nice description of a village. You've got enough NPCs that it's easily fleshed out. There's thumbnail sketches of a number of important players. There is the Abbey itself and the people that the leader and their upper echelon monks that run it. There are a number of NPCs that are attending the festival itself, both there as competitors and as their support personnel in the case of merchants, entertainers, things like that. And there's quite a few notable figures that get full write-ups, names, stats, and things. Now, this is for the Labyrinth Lord game, which means it may not be exactly the fantasy system you're using, but you could easily translate this into any version of D&D without any work at all. And I would imagine that if you wanted to, you could easily translate this into whatever fantasy system you prefer. Savage World wouldn't be difficult. And BRP, even Hero could probably be done without too much difficulty, because a first level character is a first level character. It's not hard to figure out where they fall on the scale of power. Because this is a low level adventure, this actually works into the advantage of someone trying to convert it to another system, because everyone's at their base level essentially. The the competitions themselves that take place over the 5 days, I thought were interesting, were well handled. Feats of strength, like carrying 3 different stones, each of more weight, and can you lift them? How far can you carry them? That kind of thing, which very reminiscent of real-world strength contests I've seen. Dancing on a log kind of thing. Was it? I think it was something along those lines. Riding contest, archery contests, and of course, sword fighting, all done as non-lethal. They also had the idea that there would be honor duels taking place during the competition, because let's face it, you have a whole bunch of fighters all in one place. People are going to get drunk, they're going to insult each other, there's going to be dueling. So, to limit the damage involved in this, what they do is they have a really nice little social custom where 3 daggers are presented to the person who's been challenged. So the challenged gets to choose. And if they choose the dagger with a gold tassel, non-lethal damage. No harm, no foul. First person essentially gets worn out, loses. The white dagger is first blood. So the first person that bleeds, loses. Again, no harm, no foul. 1 hit, probably not going to die from it. Everything's good. The last dagger has a red tassel, and that's to the death. Though I imagine that you probably can get around that if a person looked really severely injured, and if people thought they were dead, you might be able to keep them alive anyway. So I like that. It gave the opportunity to have player characters challenged, and the player characters, if they do not want to get, put their characters at risk, they could choose the gold or the white tassel and participate in the honor duel, and yet not have to worry about a PC death. I think that the adventure itself was well done, was interesting. It's not particularly linear. You can go from different spots in the adventure, which is good. So if player characters end up going for, like to C without going to B, the adventure can compensate for that, and it takes into account that the adventurers themselves, the players, may do things that change the overall adventure structure. And I think it takes that into account, which is useful. But the village itself is fleshed out enough that I think that you could use this adventure, strictly as a base of operations for the player characters at low level. The village is surrounded by woods, which have, of course, it being a fantasy world, full of big nasty things, or at least medium nasty things if you're a low-level character. So you could really base a low-level campaign on the village of Garrington and get some probably up through 6th or 7th level before they start wanting a little more elbow room maybe and move on to some bigger environments. So I definitely think this is a good adventure for low-level groups, particularly if you are a Labyrinth Lord player or you're into any of the retro clone or the old-school style D&D games. And again, I think it would be very easy to translate it into 3.5 or into Pathfinder or whatever other fantasy system that you're fond of. So give Blood Moon Rising from Small Niche Games a look.